Okay, so we're going to try this out for the first time. Billy worked really hard yesterday recording these interviews and getting the audio and all that. So big shout out, man, for helping us through that. If it happens to not work out, we'll talk all about it. But, we're going to go to an interview that we had with Representative Ashley Manlove out of Kansas City, a member of the Black Caucus, and just a really engaging personality. And I'm so glad that we have folks like her fighting for this plant. So take it away, Billy Bob.
Hey everybody, it's Waxy Brown from Waxy Brown's Flower Power Hour. I'm here down at the Capitol talking about, well, one of those things everybody's talking about, cannabis. And I came down here to talk to some different representatives and senators about the legalization efforts that are moving forward in Missouri. And I discovered that there's a whole lot more conversation than I even thought there'd be. I'm here with Representative Ashley Bland Manlove. That's District 26 out of the Kansas City area.
Hey.
Thanks for being on the show and giving us a few minutes of your time, because I have seen today you've been busy. I've seen you in about 45 different rooms, yelling this way, listening this way. So it's really cool for you to take the time and listen to us. We really appreciate that and give us some information.
Of course. Well, this is an area that is highly affected by my constituency. And it's pretty busy here in the Capitol these days. You've got a 20-plus hour filibuster going on one side of the building, and then regular budget and all those fun things on the other side. So it's pretty busy in here.
Right. So one thing I discovered here, I've been down here covering Representative Ron Hicks' bill that he's put together with Ethan Thampy and some other folks. And I found a lot of really good things happening that I wasn't aware of. And one of those that I really enjoyed listening is that it seems like, because let's be real, expungement is a hot topic word, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's bigger than that. Really, it's a word that's not defined correctly a lot. We see that with some of these initiatives and bills that land across the United States. The expungement conversation isn't real in my eyes because it doesn't bring full expungement. Can I ask you what expungement means to you?
Well, I'm not a lawyer, so do not quote me on this. But in what I perceive expungement to be is having the ability to move on with your life.
Second chance.
Having the ability to move on with your life. And unfortunately, what we notice is that the access to the process of expungement is more the hindrance. So whether it's literally just getting the paperwork done, or if a state is making you pay for it in some kind of way, those seem to be the inhibiting factors, as well as the general lack of trust in the government, so people don't think that it's real.
We talk about filing paperwork and things like that. That's not cheap because I can't go file a piece of paper with any kind of court or anything like that. I have to hire a lawyer to do things like that, right?
Unless you're confident enough to represent yourself, and hopefully a lot of us, I wouldn't recommend that.
No, never have, never will.
I wouldn't recommend that.
So I want to touch on that. So expungement in Missouri, I don't feel like the conversation has necessarily been the right conversation until I came here today and I read and listened to some of the conversation up here. And what I found is that it sounds like the legislation is going a little bit in the right direction here. As an advocate, I never would have thought I'd say those words. I would have thought, well, we the people, we'll do the voter initiative, we'll do it that way. Well, it's a true story that just like that conversation a second ago, I'm not smart enough to write legislation or to write even the documents to get me expunged or anything like that. We trust the people that go forward with those documents and those ideas and those ideals. We trust them to come up with the right things, and when they sell it to us, we hope that we're being sold something that's right,
accurate,
and real,
right?
And sometimes it's not.
Regularly, it's not, unfortunately.
So I do. I'm really, really glad to see that kind of forward movement. But one thing I discovered, I want to be real with you. I voted a certain way in the last election because I was told that a certain thing would be coming down the pipeline that I haven't heard hair nor hide of, and that's legalization of cannabis. President Biden did give us that as a campaign promise, and you have taken offense to the fact that it hasn't happened yet. Can you tell me a little bit about what you got going on there?
Well, first, let me put the caveat out there that with what's her name, Cena, and the congresswoman from Arizona out of in the Congress, and Mnuchin, is that what it? No, what's it?
Manchin.
Yeah, Joe Manchin.
Yeah, gotcha.
So it was supposed to be how this was all supposed to play out was we gained control back of the House. We got those last 2 guys in the Senate. All right, now we have the numbers to move this all forward. Well, the problem that you run into, specifically with our 2-party system, is that the party gets too big for itself. So then ideas stop lining up as much as they should. So I don't hold it against Biden that he has not decriminalized marijuana yet. But I am mad at congressional Dems for not coming together and pushing this forward. So I think that's what we're seeing right now is, just like we're seeing here in Jeff City, individual egos getting in the way of the progress that we all want, collectively. So yes, President Biden said he would, decriminalize marijuana at the Fed level. And I think it was like across the board expungements or something like that.
Equity programs.
Right.
Lightning touched on it.
A lot of that is wild and brash and like pie in the sky. I'm going to shoot for the moon. And a lot of people who aren't regularly in this bureaucratic process don't understand time. So it takes time to get all these bills through. Here in the House, it takes an average of 7 years for a bill to get all the way through the House, all the way through the Senate, and actually to the governor's desk. So all that playing into it, I still don't want it to get lost in the sauce, and come from the forefront. We're talking about infrastructure and all kind of the stimulus money that's going on. I want to make sure that we're not losing focus on people who have historically, my people, been disenfranchised, and are still not given the opportunity to participate in the refranchisement of this industry. So thanks to EPIN and some of the other legislators in the Capitol, Representative Wiley Price, who out of St. Louis City, who has been one who, since he came in, has been adamant about expungement, not just weed, but just expungement. And has dove, deep into those conversations with DOC and stuff like that. With all of their collaboration, we just want to do a resolution that says, hey, don't forget, this is what you said. And, I personally, as a politician, understand you're going to shoot for the moon and hopefully land on a star. But we still need to take that rocket off and go on and shoot for the moon.
So part of what your it's legislation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Part of what your legislation is doing then isn't so much legislation as it is advocacy, activism, putting a flashlight back on and saying we're not going anywhere.
Correct.
We have things to do.
Correct. So a lot of the times, I'm a Democrat in the House. It's like 120 to 40. So my actual legislation doesn't actually see the light of day. But I still file stuff because the ideas are still out there and they need to be said. So we want to create a resolution, right, which isn't like legislation saying you have to do this, but says exactly what you said. Hey, we want to recognize this and bring a spotlight back to it.
Very cool. It's interesting to learn that sometimes we don't write these bills and these things necessarily because we know they're going to pass, but because they're important.
Right. Just because it's important to talk about. And you mentioned the initiative petition, process earlier. And so that brought me back to the legalization of medical marijuana.
Speak the truth. And
so I remember, here in the House, they like to say that we need to get rid of the initiative petition process because it creates frivolous petitions. I don't think that they're frivolous. I think that they are ideas that the public has that we're not paying attention to. So therefore, they have to go around us to make us pay attention to it. And I remember, all that being said, I remember when the medical petitions came out, and there was the first one that hit the streets was done by a guy named Brad Bradshaw. Lord. Brad Bradshaw, and
marijuana czar.
he was going to create the Center for Incurable Diseases, which is literally an oxymoron. And all of the revenues gained were going to come to him through this organization. And, luckily that one was voted down, and we were able to educate people enough to get the one that did go through. And that one was still even bad. Because, there's only one black person. I'm not going to say minority. There's one black person who owns a storefront out of all the licenses and distributions. So that one was still bad. So it was funny when I saw the new initiative petition that's out there. This Legal 2020 something. Legal Missouri 2020. So I said, okay, there's a new petition out there. Let's see what it says. And I went to several subject matter experts and was like, hey, what's this? And, they brought up the point that, this is a rough draft. This is a bad petition. Mm-hmm. It, basically creates a monopoly, something like the new licenses can only go to people who already have a license. That's crazy. And then not to mention just me being black and being annoyed by subs and primes. So I think this initiative petition creates a felony. Is that?
It can criminalize cannabis, yes.
Right, which is what everybody who wants cannabis, the literal opposite of what everybody who wants cannabis is, and the literal opposite of everything that we've been fighting for, in this journey. So,
I want to ask you a question then. So you feel the same way that a lot of us feel, and that's that we have a broken medical marijuana system.
Oh, that's horrible. It was a complete monopoly with like 2 players getting all of the licenses.
I'm certain that you feel the same way a lot of us do, that you don't want a broken adult use system. Meaning 21 adult rec, I call it adult use.
Yeah.
We don't want a broken system there.
Correct.
How do we do that here? How do we make sure that we don't land what we don't need? How do we ensure that the voices that you're representing, that the culture that you're talking about, how do we ensure that it gets to participate, it gets the things that it needs, that all of us get a program that we deserve? Mm-hmm. How do we go forward?
It's really easy. I know people think it's like complicated, but you ask the people who have been disenfranchised what they need, and then you do it.
That's 80% of your constituents.
It's super easy. I don't need, and don't take offense, but I don't need white saviors. I don't need poverty pimps. I just need people to give us the chance that we deserve. That's it. And then don't try to take it away from me after you approve it. It seems to be a running theme here in the U.S. But I think that, this is all about another opportunity to create generational wealth and a redistribution, a proper distribution of wealth. I'm tired of the 1% owning everything. And the pie is big enough to where that doesn't need to be the case. Just because I win doesn't mean you lose. And that's kind of a big mentality that's going on in the U.S. So I see it as, if you have a more diverse base of licensing, then that means more profits are spread throughout the jurisdiction, which then means the roads are better, the schools are better, the grocery stores are better, all those things that are funded by those local tax dollars. So I see this as a great opportunity, but I am concerned based on experience of how this is actually going to shake out.
Awesome stuff. I appreciate you.
All right.
All right. We've been talking to Representative Ashley Manlove out of Kansas City, District 26. I'll tell you what a great conversation. We really appreciate you. And as this conversation with legalization of Missouri moves forward, I'd love to have you call in on the show, talk to the listeners about what we're looking at here.
For sure. Let me know.
Awesome stuff. All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.